Hello and welcome to Soul's Compass Healing. My name is Brianne Lazinski and I sincerely welcome you to this space. The scene around me is pure serenity right now, and so I am hoping to bring some of that energy to you through this video because October is a very, very intense month. We're kicking it off with this Aries full moon happening on October 6th. And it's ruled by a Mars in Scorpio. There's your first hint, right? Mars in Scorpio wants to go deeply into what? Its motivations, its compulsions, its repulsions, its attractions, and wants to understand why. Right? Mars is the leading edge of our evolutionary journey. That is what Jeffrey Wolf Green, the founder of Evolutionary Astrology, taught. It is by our desires that we actualize, using our free will, we actualize what we want in our life and thereby are met with our evolutionary tasks. And so this is already speaks volumes. Just this one way of interpreting the birth chart in evolutionary astrology, which is by planetary rulers, we can know that we are in for a very penetrating full moon, right? Where it wants to penetrate beyond the surface of what may be, the iceberg above the water and what is actually below it. What is this unconsciousness that we are all a part of? And it's interesting because bringing in the planetary nodes of Mars and Venus, they are actually with Mars at the time of this full moon. And this can speak to, and we know that Mars and Venus were quite prominent in the Virgo solar eclipse that we just had, right? They were both at the apex of yods, very intense aspects. So this is not only playing out for this whole month, but also for the next 6 months because that was a solar eclipse, right? So again, with this Mars placement, this can bring up a regression into old power dynamics, right? Intense circumstances in order for us to evolve through them. Another thing that Jeffrey Wolf Green said about Pluto, which is the archetype of Scorpio, was that we are always given choice. And I'm sure that he received a lot of flack for that because for many, it doesn't feel that way because many of us don't know our power, right? We seek immediate gratification by giving our power away or by holding power over others in order to merge with something that we want right away. That's Mars and Scorpio. Just go for it, and, just act upon this unconscious desire, and then whatever the consequences are, well, so be it. And I just really want to say that whether we are holding power over others or giving our power away, those are both very harmful to not only ourselves but to others, right? And there's consequences, and this is what humanity is going to be coming up against this month, is the consequences of the hot-headed unconscious dynamics that we are seeing being rolled out by those who tend to be holding a lot of positions of power within our society, right? And I'm also going to speak to Venus while I'm talking about this. Venus is going to be conjoining the South Node in Virgo on October 4th. And she'll still be on the South Node at the time of this full moon. Interestingly, it was earlier this year, in February to April, that Venus was conjunct the North Node of the moon in Pisces, when we had, and Saturn and Neptune are still there on the Aries point. And it was very much, reflect about that time, February to April of this year. What was going on in your relationships? Was there issues of disillusionment coming up? Was there issues where you had to face maybe the ideal or the fantasy, and then reality kicked in and it just didn't measure up, right? And so now that we have Venus on the South Node in Virgo, so she's going to be opposing Saturn on October 11th, this is where we can have a really good objective viewpoint of what was that, what actually was going on in that shakedown. Because when ideals and illusions and reality collide, often at the time that it happens, we can be quite confused, and then it takes some sort of objective seeing with a full phase opposition, like what we're going to have here, for us to reflect upon the past of our relating, not only to ourselves but with others. And so this is likely going to bring people into our lives in a faded way, from the past lives, or past in this life, or maybe just relating dynamics that are the same but with new people. And why is this going to be coming up? Well, because we are under, again, that influence of a south nodal solar eclipse in Virgo, and Venus conjoining here. It's about analyzing the past to grow our muscles of discernment, to learn how to establish boundaries. What's mine? What's theirs? And I really, really encourage all of us to be gentle with ourselves at this time, because we can really look at, when we do the what's ours, what's theirs thing, in order to understand how that relationship dynamic took place. How, how did that happen? Who has ever been in a relationship where they have questioned that? It's like, wait a second, how did we get here, right? And it's like, there is so many insights that we can have about the other person. And I'm not saying that that is all bad. We should be having insights about them and the actions that they took, and was it right or wrong, was that abuse or not, right? We need to be analyzing that as well. And also ourselves, like, how did I let that happen? What was in me that drew this into being? And this isn't to self-gaslight, and this isn't to self-berate, and this isn't to self-deprecate, okay? Because that propensity can be very, very strong right now. And we do not want to go down that road, because that is, it leads to self-loathing, and that is not good. And so we approach ourselves with compassion rather than self-blame, right? because in that acknowledgement of our own part in it is where we really come into power of healing ourselves. And by healing ourselves, we are Venus going to be attracting differently in our lives. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Well, okay, I'll come back to that a little bit. Hopefully I'll remember. In also another reason why this moon is ramping up in intensity for us here is that we have Mercury in the sign of Scorpio ruling the South Node. Okay, so again, we're still talking about South Nodal dynamics, reflecting on the past. And Mercury is going to be at 0 degrees Scorpio. And Mercury is going to be in Scorpio this entire month, not entering Sagittarius until October 29th. So, Mercury is also square Pluto. And this is about realizing the conscious and the unconsciousness of the majority of the population. And isn't that a scary thing to realize? Right? Our psyche, collectively speaking, is in crisis because we're going from blind faith, more or less, to being able to recognize what the psychic underpinnings of this stream of flowing life is actually made up of. What is our unconscious actually made up of? Well, we are going to have a month here where we're going to see. We're going to see what it's made up of. Very vividly. And this is, again, another opportunity for us to, as I said in the last video, get acquainted with our power. You know, really know where our power lies, because when we have the courage to open our eyes and see the reality of what these archetypal or more psychic underpinnings are that we're seeing manifest on a more superficial level in mainstream society, that is where we can realize just like, yeah, we can really realize the reality of what's going on, and we can understand why. And right now, these symbols, you know, Mars and Mercury in Scorpio, are really, you know, pronouncing that we want to know why. We want to know why. And so with Mercury also being at the apex of a yod with Neptune and Uranus, right, where Mars was at the solar eclipse, we have this activating our soul level memories, where in the past, or maybe past lifetimes, there was so much intensity, and now that's being dug up again, right? We're feeling that level of intensity again. It's similar circumstances being recreated over and over. And this happens for us to evolve. And it is it's okay, because humanity is going through this massive leap of consciousness and unconsciousness in its collective psyche right now. with everything that is going on in terms of technology and globalization, right? We are, if you look out into the macro, like the big picture, there is a massive leap going on in our consciousness and in our unconsciousness. And so this is really speaking to this month, us really wanting to be having these memories in order to dive into the soul level material that is being placed on our lap so that we can use this to evolve through the reflection of the past. Because if we don't make that choice, Pluto, Scorpio choice to evolve through it, we will regress into the past. It will automatically happen. We have to make that conscious choice of doing something differently with this major leap that humanity's consciousness is going through. Okay? So, Pluto is going to be stationing direct on October 13th, so mid-month. Another reason why this month is going to be significantly intense, and that is that when Pluto stations, you know, Pluto is, again, I'm speaking Pluto, Pluto, Pluto this whole time, is the bottom line underneath the the water, the underpinnings of our psyche, that unconscious that often goes untouched and unseen. When that stations direct, that archetype in the first degree of Aquarius, wow, that is an amplified energy of unconsciousness and humanity, just like full volume. And it's a little bit can be a whole lot of things with Pluto and Aquarius. It can be a amplification of what we've been seeing so far in the Pluto and Aquarius, this issue of desensitization, right? When people are feeling so numb because it's a new trauma every day, and so what the hell? And uh, the way to work with that is to understand that we all have trauma. We all are swimming in PTSD, in complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, we're all in the same boat, and so it's about finding ways to invite our humanity back to the table, even amidst all of the re-triggering circumstances that humanity is going through at this time. And so yeah, we are this month going to be really forced to find creative ways to do that. And it really does come down to us embodying our creativity, right? And yeah, using the power of our minds to focus on yes, the reality of what is at hand, but also to focus on you know, what it is that we can do about it, what it is that we can stand up and fight for because we are not giving up, you know, that kind of stuff. And this is what that Aries moon is all about. And this Aries moon is with Ceres, who's retrograde in Aries and who is in conjunct, it's the ruler of this moon, Mars. And so what we have going on here is that the species is certainly hypervigilant of like, when is the next shoe gonna drop? What's gonna happen next? Will we be able to do anything about it? And what's really important here is that we are nurturing ourselves. We're taking time to go inward to our own inner mother. Taking that time to attune to ourselves, to our nervous system, meeting our nervous system where it's at. If it's in fight or flight, it's probably there for a very good reason. So we don't want to force it out of there, right? So we're just acknowledging that it's there, and we're leaning into the support of Mother Earth for us to find our mobility again, our freedom again, our will to live again. Mama Earth is so steadfast and strong. She is the support that I have leaned on my entire life without fail, have never, ever, ever been let down by her. Not to say it's all been perfect, Mother Earth has her storms, but it is the steadfast rock that we have to lean on. And we can access it when we go outside, we can access it within ourselves. And this is so important that when we're going so deep to try to understand what the F is going on in our world today, it's so important that we are really turning inward and utilizing the support that we get from nature, from Mother Nature with a capital N. Mars is, as I said, in conjunct Aries, so we gotta be our own soul detective, right? And we can go deeper if we rely on the support of our inner mother and our Earth Mother. She has been through everything that humanity has done so far on this planet. She will be here after humanity is done on this planet, and so we can really rely on her, you know. There's another thing that I want to mention, and that is that Jupiter is going to be forming a T-square to Chiron opposing the Sun. This is going to be building up throughout this month, and it is going to be exact on October 17th, on the same day that the moon is in Virgo conjunct the South Node. So we're going to have a buildup of a lot of woundings and pains. It's going to be like somebody broke open the wound and poured vinegar over it. And it's so important that we do what I was just talking about, which is to keep checking in with our inner child and creating that inner space for ourselves to feel safe, to give our nervous system a rest, and to crack open the valve of our emotions, to allow ourselves to emote, to feel freely, and to have this emotional catharsis that that children have when they emote. It's like they're full on, like if you've ever seen a child go from like full on tears to like straight away happy and clapping their hands, it's like that is what we all have within us, and it is through that childlike emoting that we can really be with ourselves throughout all of the woundings and the pain that will be coming up. This reflection on the past and this deep dive into the unconscious of our collective is not going to be easy this month, and so that's why I'm really seeing, what these planets are telling us to lean in lean in on being our own inner nurturers, attuning to our own selves. And there is one other thing that I wanted to mention, and that is, did anybody notice that Juno has been in the sign of Scorpio since November 3rd of 2024? I mean, she did go 0 degrees Sag at one point, but then went retrograde. She had a couple of retrogrades in the sign of Scorpio. And I just want to say that at the time of this full moon, I don't talk about her much, but in this video I am going to, because she's opposing Uranus at the time of this full moon. And so it's like, now we come for a more objective view to illuminate what we have learned throughout the last year of Juno being in the sign of Scorpio, which again is all about relationships, getting in deep. What is going on when, two psyches or more collide? A lot. There's a lot going on, right? So much hidden beneath the surface. And so this aspect can really bring like some aha moments, some liberation, light bulb moments, where it can also be potential conflict too, like differing opinions and beliefs from one another, and needing to really honor those differences. And so, yeah, that is all I think that I'm going to say today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I sincerely hope that this month you are grounding into your own inner mother and into the Earth Mother here, who supports us every single day of our lives. I would not be here without her, and so I dedicate this video to her. Thank you so much for listening.